Welcome. Today I'm with Dawn Arruda. Dawn is a third-generation real estate agent. She began her career path in the United States Air Force as an air mechanic on the C-130 aircraft. It's very impressive, Dawn.
Thank you.
She's been a realtor since 2006, and I've known Dawn since I think like 2015 or 2016. So 7-8 years. That's a good amount of time.
It is.
So welcome today.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Thank you. You just had your first grandchild?
Yes.
That's so awesome.
It is. Everybody told me that it was going to be the most amazing thing, and they were all right. It's tugging at my heart as we speak.
Yeah, it's amazing. I look forward to that one day because you get to play with them and then hand them back.
That's what I'm looking forward to too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we can just jump right in if you're okay with that. So first of all, working on C-130s, that's pretty awesome. So I want to hear a little bit about that. Can you tell me a little bit about your time at in the Air Force?
Yeah, I went into the Air Force hoping that I actually was going to be flying those C-130s, but it didn't work out. Back in the day, and that's just aging myself, but back in the day, you had to have 20/20 vision, and I did not. So they did an aptitude to see what I could do that would be close to the aircraft, but not be able to fly them. So it turns out that I have a little bit of a MacGyver brain and I can figure things out. So I decided to become a crew chief on C-130s. And that way I could fly with the plane. I could break it if I wanted to, if it was a nice place we were staying. Or I could make sure we were getting out of some place that we really did not want to be in, because I could figure out how to kind of jerry-rig the plane so that we could take off. So it was a lot of really great experiences for me, because back in the day, again, aging myself, I was at Little Rock, Arkansas Air Force Base when Governor Clinton was there. So that's really aging myself. But anyway, it was really fun. It was a great time. Got to see a lot of places, got to learn a lot. And it's something that I took with me throughout my life. And I still use some of that knowledge in my career. So,
yeah. And
I love helping out vets.
Great.
Because, I am one.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it very much.
Awesome. Is that the plane that is out in Martinsburg, National Guard?
It is. That's where I started.
Oh, wow.
Martinsburg Air National Guard was where I started.
That's great.
And then I went active duty, and then I went back into the reserves. So, yeah.
So I live out there near Winchester, and it flies right over my house to land. Oh, it's amazing. And sometimes it's got the back down.
That's when it's going to dump stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Or throw troopers out.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
It's really cool. It flies pretty low to land. So
it's an amazing aircraft. It can fly pretty much on 2 engines,
wow.
And I've done that before in my career. But it's pretty fun.
Cool.
Fun stuff.
So how did you get started in the real estate industry from that position in the Air Force?
Well, when I was in the military is when I got married, and I married an air traffic controller. He didn't start out as an air traffic controller. He actually started out as a load master, which is the ones who push the cargo and the people out of the plane. And so when we got out of the military, both of us, we lived in Maryland, and I was still a mechanic, but in a different realm. I actually worked on copiers and drove all over Maryland and DC and Delaware and fixed copiers. So when we moved to Virginia to change career focus from Maryland to the new center that was over in Vint Hill, I thought that it might be a good time for my third generation to get started in real estate. So I decided it would be a good time, sat down as a family and said, I need everybody to understand what this is going to mean, because you take a lot of time away from your family when you're in this business.
Right.
So we sat down and made a decision for me to do it. And I said to my father, what's the best advice? And he gave me advice when I was younger when to get started. And so I started when I saw that the market was starting to turn back in 2006. And he told me that's a great time to get started when your market is bad. Because if you can sell real estate in a bad market, then you will be successful.
Right, right.
So
it kind of separates, everybody else from the cream of the crop. Right?
Yes, because my dad always said that in real estate, if you can sell if you can be that 20% that makes it, because that's about really the percentage of most of the real estate is done by 20% of the real estate agents. He said, you'll be successful. So his mantra was put your clients first and the rest will follow. So that's what I did. And I jumped in. My first listing was a short sale, which was very scary.
Yeah, which you don't see much of these days.
Thankfully, we do not. But my first listing was a short sale. And after that, everybody was like, wow, you're going to take short sales? And I was like, yes, because people need to be able to get their houses sold. So I jumped in, and that's what I kind of built my career on, was just putting those clients first. And
great.
Yeah.
And what location do you specialize in now?
Well, most of my business now is either in Fauquier County, Culpeper County, Prince William County. I do Northern Virginia as referral comes in, because I have done a lot of Northern Virginia clients. So I can pretty much sell real estate anywhere in Virginia with my license, but my specialties are usually the Fauquier, Prince William area. Great.
And in that area, what seems to be happening with the real estate market?
The real estate market is pretty crazy. We're in a little bit of a transition right now where we're not sure if it's this summer slowdown or if things are starting to shift, because real estate does shift, and when it shifts pretty quickly. But interest rates are also a factor. They're kind of staying up there again, and that's creating some problems for some of the buyers that have already said, all right, we're ready, we're going to jump in, and they are not able to jump in once that interest rate gets to a certain point. So sometimes they're jumping in, jumping out, jumping in, jumping out. The other thing that's quite interesting is how some of the homes are really getting multiple offers still. It's kind of crazy. So, I tell people that if you are really serious about purchasing a home right now, you really have to sit down with your agent and talk about your strategies moving forward. Because some people are really getting frustrated because they're losing their offers to cash. We've seen an influx of cash with buyers, especially in that 550 or less market. So having to compete with that when you don't have cash can be very frustrating. And you can lose offers multiple times. So you just have to sit down and really have a conversation with your agent to understand exactly what to expect and how to strategize to try to get a hold of that and be competitive.
So you mentioned interest rates. High interest rates right now, low inventory. Is now a good time to buy?
Well, I always say there's never the better time to buy, because if you're looking for a house, waiting could cost you more money, not only in interest rate, but also we're seeing slower increases, but we're still seeing the market increasing because there is no inventory. And the other thing that's interesting is when you go into MLS and you look at what the inventory looks like, most of the houses that you see will be new construction, and which is one of our topics today. And it's interesting because new construction is we're in so much need for that to help us with the supply and demand. But if you take away the new construction in your search, you're not left with a whole lot left to look at. And it's also very difficult for sellers, because a lot of the sellers right now, they've had 2.75, some are even at 2.5, some are at 2.85 or 3%. And in real estate talk, we say that's free money. If you can borrow money that cheap, it's free money. And so that's really hard for them, even though they can capitalize on their high appraisals and assessments. They're hesitant to let go of that 2.75. I mean, you can understand that. So we do have some people that are moving and taking advantage of it, but they also are kind of like on the fence about, well, where do I go from here? So a lot of counseling is going on with real estate agents and their sellers and their buyers. And I would completely advise anyone who is thinking about jumping in the market, whether they're buyers or sellers, to really have that serious conversation. We have a lot. One of the things that I specialize in personally is helping older sellers with downsizing. And sometimes that's a monumental task for them, but they want to take advantage of the market. So I would tell you to absolutely sit down, maybe even have 3 or 4 conversations with your agent about the process of getting it started, because it can be daunting. But new construction is something that is going to help us get over this inventory shortage.
So, yeah, I mean, as you said, you could have been on the fence since 2020, 2021, thinking that prices were going to come down, and they've just gone up and up and up.
And you've probably lost about $100,000 worth of equity from not buying in 2020 and waiting until now. So I tell people, if you really want to get in there and get a house, there's a saying out there that's you marry the house and you date the rate. I would say that is very much a true statement, but you have to be very careful, because you have to be able to afford to date that rate. Who knows how long? Mm-hmm. Because we are expecting things to get better and the rates will potentially drop, but we can't give you a timeline on when that's going to happen, because it's all driven by the feds. And as interest rates go up and down, you might think, oh, I'm going to go ahead and refinance now. Well, you might want to wait to refinance, because you want it to go down at least 1 percentage point for it to be worth the refinancing, because it does cost you money to refinance.
Right.
So having constant conversations with your real estate agents, super important.
So in this market environment, what are some tips you might have for buyers and for sellers?
Well, for the buyers, I would say be patient. Inventory is coming back on slowly, but have those conversations about how you're going to make yourself a leader in the pack when it comes to writing the offers. I'm not saying that anyone should ever forego a home inspection as a buyer, and I don't think anybody is foregoing them too much anymore. They're still doing it, but I would not, if you're going to forego an inspection, a formal home inspection, take an inspector out with you when you go looking at homes, because they do have inspectors that will go out there with you while you're searching to see if there's anything that's really glaring before you put the offer in.
Okay.
And I would just be prepared for some losses. You might lose out on some bids. Sadly, buyers do learn as they go along the process, but just have those open conversations. And I would encourage the agents to just be open and honest with them that it is going to be a little bit painful, unless you have cash. And that's not always king, but right now it does play into multiple offer situations. So I would just have those frank conversations. And be 100% pre-qualified when you go out there. Have your lender have you completely ready to go. And that might mean more paperwork for you to get over to the lenders. But if you're a serious buyer, it's worth having your lender really qualify you before you go out.
And for sellers? For
sellers, I would tell the sellers to be the cleanest, neatest, best property out there. There's a saying in life that cleanliness is next to godliness. Well, that is so true when it comes to a house. Buyers don't have the vision anymore because of all the television that they've been watching and everything that they see. They really expect to be able to buy a house and move right in, especially for what they're paying right now. So for sellers, I actually encourage them to do home inspections before they list.
Okay.
And the reason is because sometimes you don't even know all the things that you need to know about your house until you have that inspection done. And at least you can understand what somebody might be finding when they do an inspection, and be proactive, so that if you found something that was pretty big and you can't take care of it, at least you'll be aware of it when you're accepting offers. Or if you can take care of it, then you have the time to take care of it. We prep houses months in advance now. It's not like someone calls us up and says, we want to list tomorrow. Sellers are doing their due diligence so that they can take advantage of the market, and they are really putting some work into their houses.
Well, and that's a great point, because let me tell you, there are agents that say, we're going to list tomorrow and we're not going to prep anything. So
that's not a good strategy.
Right, exactly. So,
and we had talked earlier that some of the agents are actually thinking that they can just put cell phone pictures on and I'm sorry, but there is not one time that I don't use a professional photographer. And you know that you're my photographer, but I use a professional photographer for every home. And it doesn't matter if it's a $200,000 home or $1 million home. The first impression means everything. And a cell phone is not the way to make a great first impression.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
So you mentioned new construction as an option. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
New construction can be a great option, but there are definitely things that you have to be aware of with new construction. There are several types of new construction. You have your big box builders, we call them tract builders, that build in developments, and they build 2 or 3 models, maybe 4 or 5 models at the most, and they are the only builder in the neighborhood. And they are one type of builder, and the benefit to that builder is that they can give you the financing that you need when the house isn't built yet. And because you're buying a thought, you're buying a plan, your concept is based on your model that you're walking into, which is not what the builder's necessarily going to be building you.
Right.
But knowing that going in, and knowing that you have 6 months or 4 months, whatever the time frame is for the builder to complete your house, if you're living with your parents or you're in a rental that's month by month, then that's a great solution. There's also the semi-custom builder, who is probably building anywhere from 8 to 15 homes a year. They have their specific plans that they like to build. They can semi-custom those footprints. The builder that I work for is a semi-custom builder. He has he will build your floor plan that you have, your design plan that you have, but he has plans that he also can build, and he already knows the cost on them. And so he can adjust the plans to your specifications. If you want a wall taken out, you can take a wall out. If you want to move a bathroom around, you can move a bathroom around. A lot of the bigger builders, the tract builders that are in developments, they won't do that for you. You're going to get no customization because they're not going to do it. And then you have your 100% custom home builder, which is pretty much going to put you into a large and very different category for pricing. But they are 100% custom. They will sit down with you and they will design it from start to finish. And that's when you can expect to pay a lot more per square foot.
Right. Okay. And what are some of the pros and cons of pursuing a new construction route?
Some of the pros is that you get brand new, which is always nice. It's like having a brand new shiny car. You get to have everything be you touching it for the first time, you using the stove for the first time, you vacuuming the floors for the first time. And that's a really fantastic feeling, knowing that I've had new construction before and also resale. I know what that feels like, and it's pretty special. It also is better because when you build new construction, you're getting the best energy efficient homes based on current standards today. Whereas if you had a house that's like 20 or 30 years old, you may have some energy things that you might have to work on unless the seller did that prior to you buying the house. And so sometimes that can be a definite plus. You also have low maintenance when you build a new construction home, because a lot of the new builders are using poly boards instead of wood, or they're wrapping the wood so that it doesn't rot. And for the first, I would say probably the very first 5 years, you're pretty low maintenance. 5 to 10 years, you're still pretty low maintenance. It's just mostly keeping up with, filters being changed, or, just your normal everyday.
Cleaning pollen off of the...
of everything.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, the customization of building versus buying a house that you say, oh, well, I could make this house work, but I would have to take this wall down and I'd have to extend the bathroom. Those are the differences between getting a new construction and doing renovations on an existing home. The other thing that people don't really take into consideration, but it can be a plus, is if you have land that your family has and they can subdivide some land off for you so that you can build a house for yourself, that's kind of nice, because the house is one cost, but the land is not getting any cheaper right now. And so if you have a family subdivide property, that's a great opportunity to be able to pass down to your children the option of getting a new construction home.
Yeah.
So that's a plus as well.
Definitely. What are some of the cons?
Well, some of the cons are you're getting a new house, and if you're building a Trek home, they're going to have standard packages for you. So you'll go into their design center and they'll say, well, you can pick from this one, or this one. If you have a semi-custom builder, they're going to let you pick from their design centers what you want, but they're going to have a basic price on their house, and they're going to include certain levels of finishes. And if you want to go above and beyond those, you have to be prepared for the extra cost. But most builders these days expect a higher standard, which is also why new construction costs a little bit more, because, the consumer wants a little bit better finishes. Some of the cons are that it takes a little longer to build. So if you don't have that timeline, it might not be beneficial to you. And if you're in a rental, you want to make sure that you don't have to pay 3 months rent to get out early because your house got built earlier than you had planned. So those are all just timing and scheduling things. Some of the other things is that it costs a little bit more money these days to build a house. Even though lumber has gone down quite a bit, sheet metal's gone up, labor's gone up, concrete's gone up. So it's still very expensive to build new construction, and there are still wait times on certain things. We're still waiting on garage doors. We're still waiting on some appliances, especially some of the more custom appliances. So you may have some extra wait time on like a house that might have been 4 months, might now take 6 months. But you have to be prepared for the extra cost, and some people are not ready for that. The other thing that you're going to find pretty funny is people actually get into we call it decision fatigue.
I can see that, yeah.
Because they get a little overwhelmed by, oh, wow, we have to pick out a roof. Yeah. We have to pick out siding. We have to pick out brick and stone. And then we have to go into the house and we have to pick out paint colors and flooring and countertops and appliances. And do we want to tile the bath? Do we want linoleum in the bath? So they get really hung up on how to pick out items for their house. So what I tell people is, if you are the type of person that gets easily overwhelmed, you might want to ask the design person at the design showroom to help you, or sometimes even the real estate agents, because I know several real estate agents that are friends of mine that we love that stuff. So we're like, yes, let us come help you. But the design fatigue is really a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it can be overwhelming, especially if you're that type of person that you're like, I want that. No, I want that. Yeah. No, I think I really want that. So then the other thing that is a con right now.
By the way, that happens to me at restaurants. My wife always, I joke with my wife, because if there's a huge menu and there's pictures in some of them, I'll gravitate to the photo, and it's always the wrong decision. She's like, yeah.
The best advice for that is to I always ask the waitress, the waiter, what are the 3 top favorites in the restaurant?
That's a good
to try to help you out.
Maybe that could apply to homes as well.
Exactly. What are the 3 top choices for tile, and what are the 3 top choices for carpet or granite, or whatever you're picking out? Just ask for the 3 top picks, because usually you're probably going to like those anyway. Yeah. Because we always tell people that when you're building a house, go to house.com or some other house website and start getting inspo photos that you gravitate towards. And if you're gravitating towards the same 3 things, then you kind of given yourself a palette to work with. Mm-hmm. So the one other con for new construction, negotiations. Not a whole lot of negotiating room unless it's a spec home that's not selling, and that's not happening here. I know in the Florida market and some of the other markets that are like boom towns right now, which is definitely Florida, you will have a few spec homes available. And if the builder really wants to get rid of that spec home, they might work on it a little bit for price, but typically there's no negotiating for new construction right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of misconceptions that buyers who are pursuing a new construction path might have?
Good question. Really good question. This just actually came up with my builder a couple of days ago. What people don't understand is they really need to know whether they can do, first of all, a construction to perm loan. In a development where there's one builder and it's a big box builder, you don't have that problem, because they're going to carry that loan for you, and they're going to make you give them a deposit that gets put down, and then you can finance it when it's finished. With a smaller custom builder that you're going to build on his lot or your lot, you're going to have to most likely, unless they're willing to carry the note, they're going to most likely have to do a construction to perm loan. And construction loans are typically more money down. Banks are getting a little strict right now. They're not as easy to like push something aside. So they're wanting to maybe potentially have 25% down for a construction to perm loan. And if someone was thinking, oh, I can use my VA benefits to do a construction to perm loan, there is the option of a VA construction loan, but there's no banks around here that will do them. Well, I shouldn't say there's none, but they're very, very few because they don't want to carry the risk with a VA construction loan. So with a VA buyer, they might be better off going into a neighborhood where they can find a builder that already has financing for VA, or find a builder who will carry the note for you. They might charge you a little bit more to carry that house, but they'll carry that mortgage for you until it's finished, and then you can use your VA benefits to buy it finished. So, and with custom homes, I'm pretty sure that you're probably not going to get the builder to carry that big of a note for a custom home. Part of the reason why builders don't like to carry the loan for a custom build is if that build is going to take 4 to 6 months, and I'm making everything to your specifications, your extreme taste, which might be purple carpet, and for some reason that loan doesn't get to go to closing, now I have a house with purple carpet. And so I might have to change that purple carpet to a neutral color to get it sold again. So that's one of the risks that builders have, that if they carry the loan, whereas big truck builders are used to only having, you have this option, and this option, because now if you
easy to resell somebody else.
If the loan falls through, I can still sell the house. So that's the difference between those. And a lot of people don't understand how much new construction actually costs. So if you have a lot and the lot is a $200,000 lot, I tell people that usually it was 1/3 of the total cost of the property. So that would be a $600,000. Now it's more like a quarter of the price. So I tell people that it's somewhere between a quarter and a third of the total cost of the house as a basis to go on. But again, know what the builder is offering as a base price, because if you think that a house is going to cost $500,000 because you did a calculator assisted build online with a Don Gardner property or plan, most likely it's going to be off by at least $100,000.
Well, and that's a good point, because you see a lot of these things these days, these barn dominiums or tiny houses or what have you, and people think it's just this super affordable option that you throw up and get everything done for cheap, and that's probably not the case.
It is not the case. And what I tell people is you can go to 3 different builders and you're going to get 3 different prices. And that's going to depend, again, on what are the builder's basic packages. Am I going to get 3-inch trim? Am I going to get 0 trim around the windows? Am I going to get 5-inch trim? Is it going to be level 1 flooring? Is it going to be level 2 granite countertops? What are the basic levels that builder provides? Because each builder is different. And one builder might give you a base price that really doesn't have anything in it, and they let you build it up to however you want. And that's why I say the construction estimators are not very accurate. And so using those as a way to decide whether or not you can afford a house is not the best way to go about it. If I were to tell a person the best way to go about understanding new construction from the beginning is go to your bank and find out how much you can afford. That's the first step. And then the second step would be find floor plans that you like and see if builders have their own floor plans that are similar, because they know how much that plan costs. They can guesstimate how much another plan costs, but they pretty much know the cost of what they've already built.
Right.
So, and if you like what they have in their inventory as far as plans, and you can tweak those plans you might be better off building those than going out and finding a plan. And then, because people don't understand how much stone costs, metal roofs. People say, oh, well, I want a metal roof. Well, do you know how much metal roofs cost now?
Yeah. or they'll say, I want a solar roof. And that's,
exactly. It's very, very expensive. I mean, I had a little porch put on the front of I just have a little slab porch, and I just had a porch done, and I wanted metal roof.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the porch is like 6 by 4, maybe 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
It was $1,800 just for the materials for that little, and that's not even real copper.
Yeah, 24 square feet.
Exactly. And it's a simple little small thing. Yeah. So then I was thinking, well, the big roof is going to have to definitely be a no.
Well, and there's also a lot of things that people don't realize on the custom route. So when we were building out this studio that we're in right now,
right.
There at one point we had we had an idea of, we're going to have a working kitchen set, so that would require running some plumbing. To do that, we had to get engineered architect drawings, and that was shocking how expensive that is. And so we don't have a kitchen set here. But
have a fake kitchen.
Right, exactly. But there's all sorts of those costs that just really, really
people don't understand those costs. And water, the well, the builders will typically give them a price built in for a well based on averages. But if you have to go further down to drill, that's more money that you weren't expecting. Same way with septic. If you have soils that are great, that's awesome because you can put in a conventional system. But if you have a bad soil situation, you can put a septic in it, but it's going to be much more expensive, and people need to understand that cost. And so that's one of the things that I also tell people is if they already have land and they think they want to build on it, there's some other things that they can do to prepare themselves. Have a soil study. Make sure that whatever that perk is that was 10 or 15 years ago is still viable today. Make sure that they know that they have power available, because a lot of people don't realize that when you have raw land, if you don't have a power pole on your property, you might have to go to your neighbor and say, hey, neighbor, I need power. Oh, really? How much is that going to cost me?
Right. Yeah.
So it's not a guarantee that you're going to have power. It's not a guarantee that you're going to have cable just because your neighbor does have cable.
Yeah.
So you have to put into perspective all those extra costs. The other thing before you buy new construction is you have to think, I'm not going to have blinds on the windows. If I have a resale, most likely I'm going to have some kind of blinds on the windows. Not going to have ceiling fans unless the builder is going to give me some ceiling fans for free, and I don't know that they're going to do that. So all the little costs that go into a resale home that you already have existing, you're going to have to pay for in new construction. And a lot of people don't understand that. There is a new home certification that real estate agents can have. And I would highly tell people that agents to go ahead and get their certification. But if people are looking for that certification, look and see if they have that certification available, because they have been schooled properly on new construction, not just big check construction, but also other construction. Another misconception that people have is...
What's that certification called?
It's new home certification.
Oh, that's what it's called. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There's different acronyms for if you get it through your company or if you get it through NAR or VAR. So there's different ones. But the other misconception that people have is that if they go into a new construction model and they don't come in with a real estate agent, they're going to get a better deal. What I want to let people know is two things. One, no one gets a better deal when there's not a real estate agent, because the builders already have built in their pricing to accommodate a real estate commission. And the person that you meet at a Trek building site, they're not licensed real estate agents in Virginia. They are salespeople, and there's a difference. We have a responsibility to our clients. They have a responsibility to their developers and their salespeople. So we have a higher standard. The person that benefits from not having a real estate agent is the builder, 100%, because there's nobody checking behind you. So when you go in, you're going in with no knowledge, whereas a certified new home real estate agent is going to have that knowledge to help you understand that contract. One of my stories from this year was a person that I know went out and signed with a new home builder, asked me if I would look at the contract for them because they thought they could do this on their own. I took the time to peruse it a little bit, and when I did, I realized that they were not being represented whatsoever. Now, contracts sometimes, typically new builder contracts, are always on the builder's side, but this one was horrifically not on the consumer side. And so when I pointed out some of the things that they were signing off, they quickly realized that they were under their 3-day, and they decided to void the contract because it was very much not in their favor.
Wow.
So if they were going to have a problem with anything in construction, they had no recourse. And so these are the kind of things that you have to really read in a new construction contract. Now, will builders change those contracts? No. Most of the time they will not, because those contracts were set in stone by their attorneys. But if you at least understand the ramifications before you sign it, you can understand the language, because this is language that we use every day, but a consumer doesn't necessarily understand. So really, the real estate agent is there to make sure that you understand everything you're doing and that they have your back. So I would always recommend that someone sign in their real estate agent prior to doing new construction.
And speaking of having somebody having your back, is it typical, or would you recommend a purchaser to get their own home inspection done after after going through the new construction process prior to moving in?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because we're all human, and even the best builders can miss things. And so, and if a builder, one of my biggest red flags would be if a builder doesn't give you the option to do a home inspection, that's speaking volumes. So I would always ask the builder to let you do a home inspection. And I know the builder that I work for does not have a problem with that because, like he says, we're all human. We can make mistakes or we could miss something. So absolutely have a home inspection for sure.
Great. So what are some top questions for a builder if you're interviewing them?
If you're interviewing a builder, for sure you want to ask them to have references. And when I say have references, like you should be able to call those people up and say, hey, I was given your name by your builder. What was your experience like? And your builder should be able to give you at least 3 to 5 phone numbers to call. You can also ask him for addresses so that you can drive by some of the newer constructions that he's done. I say he, I mean he or she, because there are female builders out there. But you should also ask the builder if you don't have a model, because a lot of the smaller builders don't have models. That's what keeps their costs down. So if it's a newer builder or a smaller builder that only does 8 to 15 houses a year, ask him if he's building right now. If he's building a house right now, do you mind if I go see it? And he should not mind if you go see it. You should be able to go in and see what that builder's doing. Another thing that some people won't ask, but it's a good question to ask, is how's your credit, Mr. Builder? Especially if they're smaller builders. When they're 8 to 15 homes, how's your credit? Would you share your credit with me? Because if a builder has good credit, that means he's paying his bills and he's not in trouble. And some people won't ask it.
That's a great point, yeah.
But it's a good question for a builder. The other thing that I would also ask is how flexible are they on their plans? Will they work with you if there's a wall that you want moved or you want to add this or that? What's their flexibility on their plans that they already have? Because they should be pretty flexible with them because they've built them enough times that they know, what they can and can't do, what's they are able to have happen. The other thing that I would tell you is to look at their contract, because you need to really understand their contract. And a builder should be able to let you review the contract before you sign it and before you even really fill it out. And I would have multiple meetings with your builder, especially when it comes to your floor plan and your layout on the lot, because some people have this vision that their house is going to sit on a piece of land a certain way. But what they don't understand is the topography of that land is going to change as they're digging out the basement, adding more dirt. They may think that their house is going to be sitting flat and that their garage is going to be tilting a certain way. always make sure that you're out there with your builder with sticks in the ground, placing them in there and saying, this is how your house is going to sit. This is where your garage is going to be. This is where your bedroom window is. This is where your deck is going to be. It's going to be X number of feet off the ground. Some people don't realize that because they don't have the vision.
Right. Great. All very good questions.
Yeah.
I would have never thought to ask about credit score.
It's important because there are some builders that do get themselves overextended.
Yeah.
And if they are overextended or overpromised and they can't get to you for 8-10 months,
the market shifts.
The market shifts and you're overpaying for a house, or, the interest rates go up and you're looking at, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. So, and sometimes the builder thinks they can build a house in 6 months, and sometimes things get held up. And so you have to be prepared for those little situations. Usually they can be managed, though.
Great. So shifting gears, could you share a memorable experience or a successful experience in finding a dream home for one of your clients?
I can tell you 2 short stories. One was when my very first buyer client came from Florida, and he's an architect. And in Fauquier County, we have the stone walls, and that was very important to him. And he thought he wanted to live in one area, and because they had the most stone walls, and it was so important to him to have that stone wall. So I took him out to a property in Delaplane, and it wasn't the best house, but I knew underneath all that greenery on the side of the property, there was a stone wall. And the house was architecturally probably not what he was thinking it would be, but that stone wall was there. It was on the side of a mountain. He was so happy, and to this day, he still lives there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. And he took that stone wall, cleaned it up, had it fixed, put 2 more pillars in front of his house. It's gorgeous. And he's very happy there. His whole family has lived there, very happy. So, and then the other story just actually happened. And it's kind of cool. So in real estate, as you become seasoned, as I don't want to say old out, old agents, but seasoned agents, we tend to know a lot of people that might be on the verge of selling or just waiting things out. So one of my clients that had sold a house in Prince William County had a backup buyer. That backup buyer was disappointed that they didn't get the house, but they were still looking in that same area, and they were really excited to have a house in that area. So I happened to get a phone call from someone I had met 3 years ago that was interested in my builder building them a house. So she said, could you come out and have a conversation with us? No obligations, no nothing, just have a conversation. I said, sure. So when I went out to see him, they said, we really wanted your builder to build us a house, but we're interested in this Brookfield house. And I was like, oh, just so happens that one of my builder's sellers is moving and wants me to list their house in a couple of months. How about if I go have a conversation with them? So we kind of put this whole kind of trifecta, as we call it, in motion. So but the backup buyer that didn't get the house down the street, I called the agent and I said, are they still looking? And they said, yes. And I said, I might have the house. So they went over to that house. They went over to my builder's previous client's house. Everybody liked what they saw. And then the builder client on the Brookfield house wanted to have new construction, but couldn't find a lot. So we found him a new construction home. And so it was like, bing, bang, boom. We found something for everybody. And it was just 2 agents involved. And it was just because we knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody.
Yeah.
Which is really what real estate is about.
Right.
Connecting people with houses. So it was a really fantastic transaction. It took a couple of months to get everybody through all the different, dynamics of the financing and cash and this and that. But we got it, and everybody's happy, and it just makes my heart happy when that happens. So that's the part of real estate that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so it sounds like networking and being able to put all those puzzle pieces in their right places are some of the essential skills of being a real estate agent.
Yes.
What, can you run through some of those the knowledge and the skills that you would say, aspiring realtors should possess or try to, get better at when pursuing, this kind of work?
Yes. Sadly, a lot of people get into real estate thinking it's going to be easy, and it's not easy. It is probably, I could have probably given up on the second year because of all the short sale sadness that I went through with a lot of clients. But real estate is very difficult to navigate if you don't have that will to put 150% into it. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that you really have to put back into your business what you've done. Like, you can't just say, oh, I got a paycheck and I'm done. You have to keep that momentum going, and you have to really work for the person. Like I said, my dad told me, put your client first and you won't have to worry about anything else. And that was the best advice he ever gave me. But what people don't understand is you have to problem solve in this job. We wake up every morning, and on my phone, I have my little schedule. But my schedule doesn't always go the way it's supposed to go. So we have to be able to weave and bob and move and change direction and stay positive and stay focused. And sometimes that's not so easy because we also have our lives that we're working with in the background. Mm-hmm. And we have other clients that we're working with in the background. So we have to be able to, weave and bob and move around and make things happen. And you have to be willing to do that. You have to keep yourself open every day, and you have to problem solve every day. And believe it or not, problem solving is probably my favorite part of this job because you do have to you have to take the stress off your sellers. You have to take the stress off your buyers. And every problem can be solved. You just have to really think about it first. And sometimes I take on things that my sellers don't want to take on. I had an older couple that were selling, and they just couldn't grasp the idea of doing the things that they needed to do to get it sold. So I said, all right, well, let's move you out. Let's move you out. I'll get my contractors in here. We'll get the floors done. We'll get the painting done. We'll get everything done. And then you won't have to worry about it. And they were so happy that they did what they did because it made it so much less stressful for them. So real estate agents that are really good problem solvers. Mm-hmm. And they really know how to get things done.
Yeah. I've had to learn those skills being in the real estate, and being in the real estate world, it's this stuff happens.
Stuff happens. It's not sunny outside, or a snowstorm happening.
Yeah, or a phone call of, hey, can you shoot a house tomorrow, or sometimes even today? And
yes,
I'm like
I said,
God,
can you be out there Thursday morning?
Yeah, exactly. But it is satisfying to get it figured out, and for someone to say, thank you so much for fitting me in or doing what you did to make this work.
Right.
And so, yeah.
It's very rewarding. Yeah. It really is very rewarding. I love it.
Yeah. So, what do you do differently than perhaps than other agents?
I would say one of my biggest skills is problem solving, figuring things out and making timelines work for my clients, because a lot of times, like I said, clients just get overwhelmed because not every situation when someone's moving is a good situation. Sometimes they're moving because they have no choice. Sometimes they're moving because someone's sick. Sometimes they're moving because there's a divorce. Sometimes they're moving because they're excited because they're taking advantage of their equity and moving up or out or somewhere closer to family. So sometimes it's a really, great situation. But a lot of times there's never a time that real estate moving is not stressful, because moving is stressful. But if you can help take some of the pressures off of that situation, if you can be the consummate professional and know that there might be some tensions and some stress, and I think that's one of my assets, that and marketing. But you help me with that because you're really good at what you do as well.
Well, we try, but we're able to provide a piece of it, but you're the one that executes it all. And so, I'm thankful that you can take what we do and put it into action.
Yes.
And so it's a nice.
It's a collaborative
It's been a long relationship.
It has. And it's a collaborative effort.
Oh,
it
definitely.
really is. I mean, real estate is all about collaborating between contractors, photographers, anything that the homeowner needs. And I like to take as much of that stress off the homeowner as I can.
Yeah. Great. So beyond your work in real estate, I think we've talked about this in the past, but what kind of community contributions do you make? What organizations do you support?
Well, I, believe it or not, have not had a child in high school in a lot of years, but I still promote the after prom at Kettle Run High School. And the reason being is because I really believe in that. I think it keeps kids safe and it gives them a place to just be them in the middle of the night. And so I support them every year. I write them a check every year. And I also do a bingo. I had to miss it this year, but I'd still donated the prize. I donate $200 to whoever wins the final bingo, which is so fun because the kids really enjoy it and they look forward to it every year now that they know, oh, Dawn's going to come in and do the bingo. So it's something they look forward to. I also do the Booster Club because I believe sports are a key to success with children. I'm very much about mentoring anyone that can be mentored. Even if it's a real estate agent that I have to mentor, I think it's important for everybody to have a hand up to like help them get through whatever it is they're getting through. And that's part of the reason why sports are important. I'm also part of the Rotary Club. And that organization is amazing because it not only helps people locally, but it also helps people nationally. So I'm really enjoying being part of the Rotary Club. And I also am the vice chair of the Fauquier Chamber because I like to help out businesses and anything that I can do for the community. A lot of times I do a lot of behind the scene things. I don't know what you would call it, but I'm kind of one of those sneaky little helpers who, if I hear somebody needs something, I'll, my dad always said, don't gloat about what you do to help people, just do it. And he used to tell me that if you have the money, give the money. If you have the time, give the time. If you are so blessed that you have time and money, then give your time and your money. So I try to do what I can, whether it's time or whether it's money, whether it's helping out in person, whether it's throwing a fundraiser to help mental health, reading the Declaration on the courthouse steps, which was one of my joys this year. Oh, it was such a joy. But anything that I can do to help out the community, I try to do. And so I don't try necessarily to publicize it, but I try to help out in any way I can.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So when you came here to talk about doing this today, you had just come from playing tennis. You unfortunately lost, but what? So on that note, what kind of things do you like to do outside of real estate?
I love tennis. Sadly, I didn't pick it up until I was in my 50s, but I love tennis. I love the collaboration of playing with a teammate because I play doubles. And I love the fact that it's a social game because I'm a very social person. People give me energy, and that's what I need to get through the day. And it's just, I'm competing a lot with myself and my skills. So that's one of the things that I love. And it is a competitive sport, which is great. That I would say that is my number one thing that makes me happy right now is tennis, other than being a grandmother. Because now I think that's probably
it probably took
the place of it. I would pass up a tennis match for my grandson for sure.
Yeah. Are you going back down there soon?
I am hoping to get back down there very soon because they grow a lot in that first year, as you know.
The first week they look different.
My son has been told, because he's so far away, that he must send me a picture every single day so that I can see the little changes until I can get down there. And because they do change so much. And my heart is just, it's kind of tugged right now because he's so far away. Yeah. Move back to Richmond.
Oh, yes.
But yeah.
Have you played pickleball?
I have. I actually helped do a pickleball tournament this past March for the Rotary Club to help raise money for mentally challenged youths and to get them help. And it was so fun, but I'm really not that great at it yet. Pickleball is very different. And the biggest problem for me was thinking that I had this big old racket.
Yeah.
And I had a little paddle. So I'd miss a lot of balls at the beginning.
It's like you're walking on a ping pong board or something.
It's very different. It's like volleyball, ping pong, tennis, all in one. So yeah, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, cool.
Maybe when I'm a little older.
So I like to ask this question. So some say if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. How does that resonate with you?
That there couldn't be a truer statement, because if you love what you do, you won't mind the interruption in your life, especially in this business, because it is interrupted a lot, but you have to manage that. But if you get up every morning and you know that you love what you do, getting up every morning is exhilarating because you tackle the day. And like I say, when you get up in the morning and you think you have a plan and it goes like sideways and you're happy about it, that's even more awesome, because I love that challenge of getting through a day and not knowing what to expect. I love it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it energizes me for sure.
Yeah. So just jumping back real quick to the new construction route, would you like to talk about the builder that you work with a little bit? How long have you worked with them, and who are they?
Atkins Homes. His website is Atkins with an S, homeswithans.com. He is a semi-custom builder. He will build with your plans, but he does have a lot of his own plans that we have tweaked over the years. I think I've been working with him for as long as I've been working with you, probably a little longer actually, because you did a lot of his new, when I met him, he didn't do videos and pictures and any of that. But he's a really, if you ask one of his clients what they loved most about building at Atkins Homes, they will all say that he was very easy to work with. He offers more than most of the builders for his basic packages, and he's pretty flexible. And he's also very, he'll tell you if he can't do it. He doesn't waffle. He'll be straight up with you. He's probably one of the most straightforward builders that I know, but he's also one of the kindest builders I know. He's done a few things for Chestnut Forks for helping them out, and never asked for a dime and never asked for kudos or anything. So he's kind of just one of those people that does things also just as a kind gesture that needs done. And
you do something with the bees or something like that?
He used to have bees on his farm. Yeah, he has a 50-acre farm, and he had bees for a long time, but when he got rid of them, he gave them to another beekeeper down the road. And he told me that I said, wow, you do bees? He goes, yes. He goes, they're needy little suckers, is what his term was, because you have to tend to them so often and they'll just fly away. He says, you give them all your time and attention and then they just take off on you. But yeah, he did bees. And like I said, he's a really good person, just a really good person and a great builder. I mean, he's had pretty much all of his new constructions have been through home inspections with the same inspector, and he always says, well, I know I'm going to have a small report, because he just makes sure everything's good.
Well, and let me tell you, we have shot and shoot for other new construction builders, and I can tell you, and all of my photographers can say that, Atkins' work is top notch. I mean, we see other work, and you can tell a difference.
You can definitely tell a difference, because I have had to sell other people's homes, and it just is like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you center them?
Not naming names.
Yeah. Not naming names. But he's an excellent builder, and he's actually doing 2 more homes in the town of Warrenton. So if anybody's looking for an in-town home in Warrenton, he's going to be doing 2 more homes with a first floor primary bedroom, but a second story as well.
My wife wants.
Well, and it's a second story so that you can still have your family, but then you can age in place.
Gotcha.
Because that's what everybody seems to want, is to have a first floor, because they want to be able to age in place and have their families be upstairs,
right,
out of the way. So, yeah, if you know anybody.
Great. And just as we wrap up, how can listeners and watchers get in touch with you? You
can Google me. I have a Google page. You can call me direct on my cell, 540-729-6740. You can email me at realtor@dawnarruda.com. That's Arruda with 2 R's. And I would encourage you to either check me out on Google or Zillow for my reviews. And you can also go through Ross Real Estate, because that's my broker is Ross Real Estate. So I do have a webpage on his website. So if you want to find me, I'm pretty easy to find, which is kind of scary sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was great.
I hope
So much good information.
I hope so. I hope I was able to help some people figure out what they need to do when it comes to new construction. And by all means, reach out, because I love sitting down with people and, getting them educated, because educated buyers are the best. They have an edge. So let your real estate agents educate you.
Great. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.